My panel, columnist for the Boston Globe and an NBC News political analyst, Kimberly Atkins Stohr, founder and editor-in-chief at Pluribus News, Reid Wilson, and Republican strategist and president and CEO at the Republican Main Street Partnership, Sarah Chamberlain. Thanks so much to all of you for being here. We do have a lot to cover. I want to play a little bit more, if you'll allow, of my interview with Herschel Walker. In this exchange, we talk about his support among African Americans. It's hovering around about 10%, as well as those recent controversial comments by Senator Tuberville. Take a listen. I've been looking at some of the polls, and it shows your support among African American voters hovering around 10%. Why is that?
Well, it's going to hover around 10%, but we wait to see what's going to happen. You know, they said it, you're not going to get the votes, you're not going to get the votes. So I said, I'm going to win this election. And I'm going to win this election not for African American, not for white American, not for Native American. I'm going to win it for American people.
You know, Senator Tommy Tuberville, Republican senator from Alabama, recently made some headlines weighing in on the issue of race. He said something to the effect of, they want reparations because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. What was your reaction to hearing that?
Well, my reaction was, you heard Senator Warnock say that he crossed over with Senator Tuberville to get something done. Why did he not cross over with Senator Tuberville to sit down and talk to him and see exactly what you meant by that statement, rather than going to the papers?
A number of people heard those comments by Senator Tuberville, and they thought they were racist. Did you share that concern?
I think that's the thing. They thought they were racist. That's the reason why I said you sit down and talk to its source. Let you talk to the source.
Kimberly, what's your takeaway on not just that exchange, but his reaction to his support among African-American voters, which clearly the campaign would like to make inroads with in that state?
They do, and it's a non-answer, which is a problem for Republicans, frankly, because we have seen in recent years, particularly with black men, that Republicans have seen an opportunity to make inroads there, and he doesn't even seem to understand the politics of that enough to make that pitch. He just seems to be getting around the answer, saying, "Oh, I'm for everybody," and not really appreciating that. And I think that's why you're seeing Warnock, if he is not directly taking on these controversies, sort of, particularly in recent days, saying, look, this is a person who's just not ready for prime time. And that is his best pitch, not only to Democrats, but also to some moderate Republicans and independents. That's where you see the difference there, and that's where you see he's not really helping himself out.
You know, Sarah, I thought it was so interesting that he said, I'm going to talk to Senator Tuberville, and he was very serious about that. He said, I'm going to do that before I weigh in on this controversy. And Kimberly talks about the broader kind of challenges with Republicans among, in terms of gaining African-American support. How much does a moment like that, the comment made by Senator Tuberville, hurt when you're dealing with a race that is this tight?
It certainly hurts, and it was a very unfortunate comment, but I do think Herschel Walker should call him and talk with him about this. I mean, and find out what did he really mean by it, because it appears on its cover that it was not a good comment. It was racist.
By the way, I said to him, I said, when you have that conversation, call me back. So when we have that reporting. Reid, what's your take?
This is it's like a conversation that Republicans have tried to have in a lot of other states across the country. I mean, especially in a state like Georgia, where black voters are a huge percentage of the overall electorate. If you can make even just a little inroad, then you're going to chip away at the Democratic base. That's not possible when this sort of one step forward, 2, 3, 5 steps back keep taking place.
Yeah, I do want to read some other controversial comments from this weekend. This from former President Trump on his Truth Social media post. I'm going to read the entire thing. And the White House has responded. Other groups have responded. Let me just read it and get everyone's reaction. He wrote, quote, "No president has done more for Israel than I have. Somewhat surprisingly, however, our wonderful evangelicals are far more appreciative of this than the people of the Jewish faith, especially those living in the U.S., those living in Israel, though, are a different story. Highest approval rating in the world could easily be PM. U.S. Jews," and this is a quote, I just want everyone to know that, "U.S. Jews have got to get their act together and appreciate what they have in Israel before it is too late." We're talking about the controversial comments by Senator Tuberville. I mean, undoubtedly, some people will hear this as anti-Semitic.
There used to be third rails in American politics, and it seems as if for the last, 7 years now, Donald Trump has made an entire career of grabbing that third rail with both hands, primarily because he doesn't follow the norms that a typical politician does, and in part because I don't think he understands the context around which he says something like that.
One of the things, Sarah, that's so interesting is that if this were a tweet, if this were 2016, it almost would have, I think, gotten more attention faster. There's no doubt the White House has condemned these comments. Some Jewish groups have already come out and condemned these comments. But it feels as though something has shifted a little bit, because his way of communicating with people has.
It sure has, and he's become even more extreme and controversial. And we have to remember, he does have Jewish grandchildren. I mean, his daughter has become Jewish, and she married a Jewish man. So I have no idea why he's saying these comments, but you're right, in 2016 it would have been carried more.
I think he knows exactly what he's doing. I disagree. I think that he has seen, look, we have seen him talking about black people, talking about Mexicans, talking about Muslims in this very same way. And what I think is actually happening is with the Tubervilles and with other people whom he's embraced, has opened the door to speak that way a little more straightforwardly. That we don't see dog whistles anymore. We see bullhorns.
But it really potentially puts Republicans who support him, yet again, this is not an unfamiliar territory, on defense.
Some of them. Some of them. Yes. Some of them embrace it openly, and others have to walk that tightrope that you see folks like.
You said something in the last segment when you were talking with Mark about the fact that Trump doesn't apologize, and Herschel Walker has now taken up that mantle, and I think most politicians these days, primarily on the Republican side, have adopted that attitude, that if you're apologizing, you're showing weakness. And so, hey, if you grab these third rails, go for it, and don't bother to back down, because there's nothing to be gained.
The other impact that we have seen the former president have on the Republican Party, of course, is this election denialism. By our count, more than 200 candidates are running for office who have denied the election in some form. Kari Lake, one of those. I want to play a little bit of her exchange over the weekend when she was asked if she would accept the results of the Arizona gubernatorial race. Take a look.
My question is, will you accept the results of your election in November?
I'm going to win the election, and I will accept that result.
If you lose, will you accept that?
I'm going to win the election, and I will accept that result, because the people of Arizona will never support and vote for a coward like Katie Hobbs, who won't show up on a debate stage.
She's the female Donald Trump. She will say and do anything. You know, she does intend to win, and she has told me that she expects to win. But this is new politics. I mean, this is part of what's happening in Washington.
Reid, in Arizona, how do those comments play?
I think they play fantastically with Kari Lake supporters, and I think we overestimate the media, we overestimate how much the typical voter cares about whether or not. And look, that's a sad commentary on all of us, but the fact is, voters don't care. And Kari Lake has a very good chance of winning this election. She barely has, I don't even know if we can say she has the support of the Republican she's trying to replace, Governor Doug Ducey of Arizona, who was very much behind one of her opponents in the primary.
Kimberly?
I think that the impact of this is broader than this. I think when you're talking to the American people and you're giving them reason to doubt the results of the election, that's going to take a generation to correct. So this is more about this race, this election. This is about faith in our democracy.
Very quickly, former President Obama set to campaign in Georgia next week. How big of an impact do you think he has on that race? Because Herschel Walker told me, he said, I can beat Raphael Warnock, I can beat Obama, and it shows that Warnock is scared.
Look, I'm not sure how national figures like that have ever played in local elections. I think it's great. It's not going to hurt anybody. Will it make a difference? I don't know.
Reid, he's still one of the most popular figures in the Democratic Party.
And he's going to Michigan and Wisconsin. At least Wisconsin is a hugely close race, too. So, you know, if Democrats think that he is going to be a benefit, he's going to show up there.
Final word.
I think he's a benefit, but I find it interesting that Biden is not going anywhere.
Okay, great conversation, guys. Thanks for starting us off on a very busy Monday. Kimberly, Reid, and Sarah.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.